Middle East. First, I would like, as a lawyer, to start with a legal point, which is very important, is to remind you what is the power. When we speak today in the Western countries about powers, we all know there are executive, legislative, and judiciary power. The executive and legislative power are the people who represent those powers are elected by the people. Elected by the people, that means that there is a public opinion, and the public opinion is the one that creates those two most important powers. But we all know that public opinion depends on something very important that manipulates the opinion, which is media. So that's why it is very important for us to understand this power, which is called the fourth power, but indeed it is the first power that governs all the state in Western countries. Media is considered by the politicians, by the intelligence services, as a weapon, and unfortunately sometimes it is manipulated in order to manipulate the population, their opinion, in order to establish another kind of policy. So, what is media? Media is a kind, the name media is intermediate, means intermediate. And it is a kind of a channel or a bridge linking two things, a fact or an event, and then send the image of this event or this fact to the mass. That's why we talk about mass media. So another definition of media should be like a mirror. Why a mirror? Because the mirror reflects the image of the reality of a fact, event, a person. Reflecting that through many ways. We have journalists who are, I would say, the masters of media. The journalists are working either on papers, preparing articles or reports, or working with images, I mean with videos or with photos, as we have seen this morning. So they are those people who are holding this mirror in order to reflect the object to the mass. But we all know that even the mirror can make mistakes. And if there are physicians here, they would explain to you that even all the images, they do not represent 100% the fact or the person or the object. So it depends also not only on the way how the mirror is manufactured, but it depends also on the way how you hold this mirror. If you hold it that way, so the event or the person or the object looks shorter. If you hold it that way, become much more important. And this is the way, indirect way of the media to play with the public opinion, to manipulate public opinion. Another way, this is what we call it propaganda, and the use of media for propaganda's purpose. We were talking about the Soviet Union a couple of hours ago, and the division of the world between East and West. And I would like to give you the famous example, I always give it to my students, of the propaganda. There were two ways of propaganda. Despite that I like too much cats, I used to play, when I was a kid with the cats, try to put some pepper inside the mouth of the cats. And propaganda is a way how to give pepper to the cats. The Soviet tough way, how to give the pepper to the cat, you open the mouth of the cat and you put the pepper inside. Now, the Western way, how to use and to make propaganda, is to put around the mouth of the cat the pepper. And as we know, the cat is always licking around its mouth. So it takes the pepper without feeling that it is eating the pepper. And this is how, unfortunately, the public opinion is manipulated indirectly through the media. And when we talk today, and as with Western countries, about freedom of speech, there is freedom of speech, but there are no free speeches. I will give you my personal experience concerning the freedom of speech, the freedom of thought in Europe, especially in France. I faced personally problems with the media in France toward some current conflicts in the world. I would like also to start with my personal experience in Iraq. You were talking about the situation in Iraq and how the Americans in 2003 took some, I would say, pretext to go and to invade Iraq. It happened that I was in February 2003 in Iraq, and I was in the Hotel Al-Rashid. While I was there, Mr. Hans Blix, the famous expert, arrived, and I saw so many journalists around, outside. And as I speak Arabic, I went there and I was asking them, who is here? They said, Hans Blix is here, and he is going to have a press conference in a couple of hours. I said, that's fine. Which room is he? Well, I cannot give you his room. So I gave $10 for the guy. He gave me his phone number. And I phoned him, and he was upstairs. And I was there with the wife of Mr. Jean-Marie Le Pen, and who was the president of a kind of a society. And I told her, maybe we can meet with him for a couple of minutes. So I introduced myself as the advisor of His Excellency Mr. Boutros Ghali, and he said there will be no problem. I told him, I am with Mrs. Le Pen. I would like to talk to you about the situation in Iraq. When we went inside, he was convinced that there was no these famous weapons, these mass destruction weapons, that all medias, all newspapers were stressing that they exist in Iraq. I understood, and I wrote that when I came back to Paris in my magazine, in our magazine, the Action Française journal, that those weapons that do not exist in Iraq, and while the Americans are going to interfere because they took the decision and they would like to have a report from the United Nations to allow them to go and to invade this country. I was written in the newspaper of the Action Française that the situation in Iraq will drop the whole area of the Middle East in a war between all communities altogether,